What's up, you beautiful chuds, and welcome to the Let's Talk Horror Channel podcast, and welcome to the Creep Zone, where we have very honest, unrated, unfiltered conversations about something from the world of horror. This episode, I'm super excited to talk about the movie we're going to, because and I'm going to go into the story, so I'm not going to spoil it now. But let's just say I am very, very pissed off that I never saw this movie before, and I'm very happy now that I have, and I'm very happy that it's my guest on the show today has sort of put it on his list. When, as I always say, I don't really choose the episodes that I do. What I do is I get people to send me a list over, and then I pick one from that list, and then that way, like, we know that we're talking about something that we want to, rather than going, this movie's shit. But yeah, so this movie was on his list, and I always think to myself, why did this movie always keep on popping up on people's lists, or people keep recommending this movie to me, and I don't know why. Well, I'm going to go into why in a little bit, because, as I said, I'm super pissed off that I haven't seen this movie. But the movie that we're talking about is The Loved Ones. And I nearly almost said what I thought it was, but we're getting to all of that. And I said I was going to say it, but I haven't. But yeah, that's it. But we're going to be talking about The Loved Ones. With me on this episode, I have with me a returning guest for the show. You would know him if you watched or listened to the episode we did about The Substance. But with me, I've got Dan, who is the bearded... No, I've already fucking got it wrong. The bearded horror reviews. Or is it
That's
other
the
way
one.
around?
A bearded horror review, that's the one.
For some reason in my head, I had horror bearded reviews, and I was like, that makes zero sense.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird... No, yeah. Bearded horror review.
There we go. Well, thank you very much for coming back on the show.
No problem at all. Glad to be here, mate.
Absolutely. Well, we had a fabulous chat when we spoke all about The Substance, another fantastic movie, and I'm really excited that we get to talk about another fantastic movie. As I said, that I can't believe it's only now I've watched it. But the Loved Ones was released in 2009, which makes it even fucking worse. Now we're in 2026. But it's directed by Sean Byrne. He has made some other movies as well, but most recently, I still haven't seen this movie, and I wanted to. But he made Dangerous Animals. I think that was like the one with Jai Courtney, the shark one.
Yeah, that was fun.
I haven't seen it.
I liked it. I got it for Christmas, and I hadn't seen it. I got it for Christmas. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, there we go. So he obviously knows his shit. He knows what he's doing, this Sean Byrne. Yeah. And then it's starring Robin McLevy, or Levy, one of them, Xavier Samuel, John Brumpton, Victoria Thane, and of course there is a few more, but I only really need to talk about the core cast, because otherwise we'd be here for fucking hours, and I'm not doing that. On IMDb, it's rated 6.6 out of 10, and a whopping 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So obviously, if you're going past things and you're like, oh, I don't know what movie to watch, and then The Loved Ones pops up, and you're like, oh, how good is that? 98%, 6.6 on IMDb. That's telling you essentially it's an Oscar winner. It's not, but it's telling you that it is, because it's so highly rated.
Yeah.
Of course, you should watch this movie, and we're going to talk about why you should be watching this movie, and we're going to go through it all. Google synopsis wise, this is utter shite. In order to avoid a ghostly figure in the road, already it makes it sound like it's going to be like a Paranormal Activity ghost movie.
That's so wrong.
It is. It gets worse. Brent Mitchell wraps his car around a tree, killing his father while his mother goes to pieces. Brent escapes into a marijuana-filled world of pain and guilt. That's what they're saying The Loved One is.
That's just the setup to get you into the main story, which is about something completely different. It's just that's just the catalyst for the story and where everyone is at the start. And it's very wrongly described. A ghostly figure. That's definitely not the way I'd put it.
No, and the sad thing is as well, is that like it's a type of synopsis that like might not make people like watch the movie, because it doesn't even tell you what the core like concept of what the movie is, and then like that's such a bad synopsis to set up what this movie is. Fuck you, Google.
It makes it sound like something that would be akin to like Insidious or The Conjuring. It makes it sound like a ghost story.
Yeah, or like some like dramatic A24 movie, you know.
Yeah, and it's the complete opposite of all of that. So yeah, that's completely wrong.
Absolutely.
No.
So, you know, we've had some bad ones, Google synopsis wise. That's a pretty bad one for trying to sell a movie, you know. If people are looking for a movie to watch, they might not pick it. And this one, they should absolutely pick. Or should they? Because we're going to go through that. Because this movie might not be for everyone. Because this movie definitely goes to some places that some people might not be able to deal with. But we get into all of that. One of the things that I love to ask my guests first is that, and of course I'm going to go through mine because of how pissed off I am. When did you first see this movie?
So I'm trying to remember exactly when. I know it was roughly about 5 or 10 years ago, like somewhere in that period. It was just one of those where I just came across it out the blue and watched it and loved it. And then that was like, it's, you know, like 3 a.m. kind of thing, Channel 4 on kind of stuff. And it just came on. It was one of those kind of films. I can't remember where and when exactly, but it was quite a while ago. And I remembered it again about 2 years ago because I started getting into a lot of like Australian podcasts and stuff and following a lot of people over there. And someone talked about it and it reminded me of it. And so, but it's one of those films that's always been in the back of my mind because I always remember some of the screenshots and the cover. And so it's always been like, oh no, I should probably really watch that. But yeah, it was about 5-10 years ago because like I said, 2009, which I cannot believe. I can't believe it's that old now. But yeah, I think it was about that long ago, give or take.
Yeah, and you're right. Like it doesn't. Time moves too fucking quick, and I hate it because 2009 does not seem like however bloody many years ago now. You know what I mean? And when you start hearing about movies from like 2009, 2010, you're like, yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, and it's absolutely not. But it's mad, and it doesn't feel like a movie that's a 2009 movie, and so on as well. No. Especially where we are in this nihilistic tone of modern day horror. Yeah. I think it suits it very, very well.
Perfectly. The only thing it doesn't fit into modern day like nihilistic horror that we have now is the hairstyles. The hairstyles in this film are very 2009.
Yeah, there are some absolute. There are some 2000 hairstyles and some absolute luscious locks in this movie, which I will talk about as well. But yeah, in regards to me seeing this movie, so this is why I'm so pissed off because obviously already, like I always talk about it, and obviously if you know the show, you already know that I really tend to, when it comes to this show, you know, the podcast, you know that I talk about movies that I want to shine a light on. I want to talk because there's the layers, the depth, and the movies that I really have watched and go, I love that movie, or at least like, you know, I very rarely have on the show or talk about on the show like movies that I don't want to like because I mean I don't know, that's not really for me, right? You know, the show has never been that. The show has always been what it's a
celebration of horror. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, you put it better than what I did. So with this movie, that's why it angers me so much that I had never seen it because, and this is why. So, I watched this movie for the first time. I know, and I'm so fucking angry about it. So I watched this movie for the first time probably less than a month ago now. Like basically it's when we were having conversations about what movies that we want to do. It was on your list and stuff. And I had to end up starting to look into it more. And the reason being is that this movie, of course, like we've mentioned, came out in 2009. It is a movie that always sort of like gets recommended or, you know, over the years, you know, people have spoken about it. I've seen it on other things and stuff like that. But the problem and the reason that I have never seen it is that I thought that anytime somebody was speaking to it about this movie to me or recommended it to me, I thought that they were talking about the piece of shit, boring movie with Mark Wahlberg called The Lovely Bones. So the whole time, I thought that this movie was The Lovely Bones. I never thought that a movie called The Loved Ones existed. Yeah, I just thought that they
can't believe you thought that.
It's so fucking annoying. So now, all these years, since 2009, where people are like, have you seen Loved Ones? I'm like, yeah, the shit boring movie with Mark Wahlberg about, like, I don't know, whether it is a nonce guy. I'm like, so, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why are people recommending me this movie? And then, of course, when I was just like, I need to look into this because, like, I thought to myself, when you had it on your list, I still thought it was The Lovely Bones. So I was just like,
I remember you saying.
Yeah. So people keep recommending this movie to me. So I was just like, maybe I should go back and give it like another watch or something. And it was only then that I looked into it and realized that this whole time since 2009, I was completely wrong. I
Yeah.
thought this movie didn't even exist. I just thought it was the Mark Wahlberg movie Lovely Bones, and I had mugged myself over completely because as soon as I saw this movie, I watched the movie and I was just like, what a fucking incredible movie. But then after that, the anger started coming through, and I just wanted to smash everything because I was like, how could I have ever missed this movie? So
Yeah.
if I ever meet Mark Wahlberg, he's getting a slap from me because since 2009 I had to miss out on this movie because I thought it was his shit movie. It's all his fault. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's fine. We blame Mark Wahlberg. That's always fine. I do that a lot.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's
Fucking
one of
Mark
those where,
Wahlberg.
like, when you said it, and I remember we were messaging, and I was like, just watch it. Just give it a watch. And then you did, and you were like, holy shit. I
Yeah,
was like, yeah,
absolutely.
you messed up. Yeah, that's why it's
Yeah,
on
I
the
did.
list.
I know. I fucked up. Mark Wahlberg fucked me up. I think that movie's even directed by bloody Peter Jackson as well, so he's to blame as well.
It was yeah, I think it was him. Yeah, Peter
Yeah, I
Jackson.
think it was like one of those movies that was like based on a book that got turned into a
Yeah,
movie, and
what's it?
I watched it and was fucking bored. And I think it was the movie that Ryan Gosling got fat for, but then they were
Yes, it
like, "You're
was.
too
Yeah,
fat, so we can't do it." But
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But I thought that this was that movie. I didn't think
yeah,
like I just didn't know that this movie existed. I just
yeah.
thought
Boy, were you
everybody
in
was
for a
saying,
surprise.
yeah, yeah, and that exactly what a lovely surprise it was.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about because obviously on the show, one thing that we do the full run through of the movie, scene by scene. That way, we get to go into more detail about the things that are happening in the movie, rather than just going performance is good, movie's good, all that sort of stuff. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of what the film is, everything that happens, and also it means that we get to go through the scenes that you love as well. Anybody watching this and or listening, it means that if we get to a scene that you want to know a little bit more about, we're going to do it. So there we go. So we're going to start with the opening of the movie, where the film opens with an absolutely banging song by the Little River Band. I
Yeah,
think it's called "The Lonesome Loser" or something like that. But it's
something
an
like that.
absolutely
Yeah,
it's a
tune.
fucking banging song. But
Yeah.
also then once again, it's those little things you're like, oh shit, like are they talking about him in this song? You know, the Lonesome Loser and stuff like that. And then when the movie's finished, you're like, hang on, you go back to the start and you think about that song. Is it her they're really talking about adding that song in? Because of course she really sort of maybe is the Lonesome Loser. So it's a bit of both,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mm.
So
I
it's
think
pretty interesting that we get that already
it's a
from just the
very
bloody
interesting
song.
use of music throughout the entire film, but that opening, especially, it does really set up the tone of the characters because that opening scene, they have that song on, and the father son are having that conversation about the song. It's this, you can see that there's this extremely natural, nice dynamic, and they're kind of like just this cool kind of family where they talk about things and joke and laugh and stuff, and it feels so natural and relaxed that I was and like it when the thing happens that happens, it's expected and also unexpected because I'm so relaxed and it just comes out of nowhere. Like obviously it's setting up a jump scare, but like the whole scene itself is so well orchestrated to set up everyone's dynamic within the first couple of minutes. And
Yeah.
that song just perfectly encapsulates it. They're that lonesome loser. Well, when I watch the film, I feel like it talks about almost everybody in that
Yes.
film. You know, he's
Yeah.
the lonesome loser after, you know, the tragedy that happens. The girl is a lonesome loser. The goth girl that his mate goes on to the prom with, she's clearly lonesome in some kind of way. The mother of the main character, she's lonesome in a different way. Everyone's lonesome in their own different way, and they're all
Yeah.
dealing with it with their own different ways.
Yeah, you're
So I
exactly
thought,
right. And once again, it's like the little things, and this is why I love having you on this show as well. It's like when we was talking about the substance, like everything has a purpose, everything has a reason in
yeah,
that movie. And this movie is very much the same as well. That even from like we've just sat here and had like a 5 minute conversation about a song by the Little River Band, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But the point
yeah,
is that like it's not just a thrown in song, and even if it was, it doesn't matter because we as viewers think into that and read into that
yeah,
about what it is. Of course, it's not because we know the person who makes this movie knows what the fuck they're doing. but it's
Yes.
it's just a quick little thing where you're like, this is the song, but it means so much more than just that.
Yeah.
But of course, like you mentioned as well, we get the title card, the loved ones, motherfucker. It doesn't say motherfucker, but it should do. We then get, obviously, we get in the car and we're going down a dusty Australian road. A young guy is driving with his dad in the passenger seat, having some playful banter, and like you said, it's very organic, it's very natural, but what it's doing is obviously setting up what happens next, because then suddenly, out of nowhere, they see some dude in the middle of the road walking up the road, and he's absolutely fucked. He's walking like he's staggering. He's got a heart carved into his chest, and then of course they have to swerve the car to get off the road, to avoid this guy, and the car goes into a tree, and then at that point we hard cut to 6 months later. So already we've gone from like a movie that like feels like it's going to be one thing, and then it's already hit you straight away with, like you said, almost like a jump scare. And it's already like, oh shit, and you're intrigued already, because what the fuck happened to this guy? How did he get here?
And it's that, I feel like that the whole film does that. Every scene and every thing that happens, it just hits you. There's no real kind of super big build-ups to these things. They just constantly hitting you with a sledgehammer with everything that happens in this film. And I feel like that opening scene just literally sets you up to go, this is how it's going to be for the next hour and a half. We're going to be constantly hitting you with things. We're going to be constantly just putting stuff on you that is uncomfortable and shocking, and you're just going to take it because that's how we're making it. And I think it really just sets up that dynamic.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And then, of course, as I said, it hard cuts to 6 months later, and then school's out for summer. I mean, sort of. And the dude from the start, he now has luscious long hair. Of course, he's looking a little bit worse for wear, but his bloody hair is, and it's beautiful. And and he's, but also as well, I don't know if you're the same. I mean, you might not be. You're not in my brain. I don't know how it works. But when I was watching this, I'd be like, he would be a fucking really good Eric Draven, like from The Crow. He would be like a really good Crow.
Yeah, that kind of, he's got that look. He definitely has that kind of that 90s gothic aesthetic. If you just took off the 2000s like emo clothes that they're all wearing, and chucked on a tight black t-shirt and some like really skinny black jeans, you could definitely cosplay as the Crow.
Yeah,
and I love that jump cut, because in the car you see how happy he is, and he's bright skinned and he's happy, and then that jump cut happens and you see him, and he looks like he hasn't slept for those 6 months. Yeah. So I think that quick jump cut, even though he's got great hair now, shows the impact that 3 minutes had, and on him, and even 6 months later, how devastating it was to his psyche just by looking at him and seeing the difference. Yeah. That's why I love that jump cut. It is, again, that sledgehammer of bang. This is how he looks now. Look how tired he is.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course his mate comes along, and it's all about drugs, sex, and rock and roll. The rock and roll is basically when the goth chick turns up, and of course they've got to have like that proper like walk in. It's always like a goth mean girl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but she comes in. She's the hot goth chick. But then suddenly, behind Brent, suddenly a more shy and timid girl, not so gothy. She's dressed up like you're mentioning, like pink, very 2000s, very pink t-shirt.
Someone who's supposed to be 18 but looks like she dresses like she's still 13.
Yes,
and walks up to him and asks him to the dance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she offers him out to the dance, but of course he says no. And I'm sure that won't come back to bite him on the arse at all.
Even though I said no, not at all. But though, it shows what he's like. He's very kind about it. He's not like no. Yes. He's like, I'm really sorry. Like I am going with my girlfriend. Like, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, and that's what makes it all fucking.
And he calls her by her name as well. He's like, he knows who she is. It's not like he's just like, like in some of these films, it's like, who are you? He's like, oh, I have class with you every day, and I have done for 6 years, and you don't even know my name. Yeah. He's like, he's clearly going through stuff, but he's still nice. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Can't remember,
And you're right, and it makes everything like sort of else that happens, because the thing is, and I spoke about it in the last episode and the episode before and all the episodes, like, and something obviously we don't really get so much in horror now, but if you have a movie where it sets you up, where these people you're on a journey with, you like these people, it makes that everything that happens, whether it's bad or good, it makes the impact of those things more monumental, you know?
Yes.
And the thing with this is that if he'd have turned around and been like, no, you fucking weirdo, like, I'm not going with you,
Yeah.
already you're like, oh, okay, well, she might do some horrible things, which obviously we get
Yeah.
into, but maybe is it more valid? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
within respect, within reason. But the fact that
Yeah.
he is a genuinely nice person, that he's been through, like, obviously all the shit that he's been through, and then the 6 months of everything that we haven't seen, and this is where he is at this point in the movie. And then he's not a dick to her, he's not horrible, as you say. It like then makes everything else, you know, one, you're like, I like this guy, I hope that he turns out all right, but also it makes everything else that happens later on at what we go through like even worse as well. But at this point, anyway, Brent is now banging his girlfriend that he would say that he's supposed to be going to the dance for.
Yeah.
Also, I will obviously put this out there if you haven't seen this movie like I didn't. Explicit sex scenes, quite a little bit. As in, I wouldn't necessarily explicit, that's not a thing. But as in, when we live in a time now where there is no sex scenes, there is sex scenes in this.
There's very naturalistic sex scenes in it. It's teenagers in cars, but they aren't getting naked. They aren't just doing the romantic sex in films where they're just kind of like hugging each other. They're thurking. They are.
Yeah, we're having sex in a car right now, and this is what it's going to be. But that's it. But then obviously we learn a little bit more about Brent as well as the character and everything he's been through, because obviously he's having sex with his girlfriend in the car. We see his self-harm scars that he's got on his stomach and stuff like that. So obviously he's been going through a lot in the last 6 months. Then, as I said, we do see boobs, and Lola, the girl who asked him out, this is where we get the first sense of her being a fucking creep, because she's literally right outside the window watching them outside the car, and that shot was just like, it's so like, it's funny, but not because you're like, oh, okay, things are going to get really fucked up.
Yeah, it's like he made a bad decision by just being kind. Also, I tell you what, this other scene also does, it sets up what's going to happen later on, because yes, we talked about the self-harm and things, but it shows the razor on his necklace. That's what he's been using to self-harm, so he has it on him all the time. Even his girlfriend doesn't take it off him. She knows like not to take it off him because it probably just make it worse. So it sets this film, every little scene sets up another thing that's going to come back later. And obviously Lola being an absolute nut job as well, just watching them, which she does mention. She mentions what they're doing later on in the script when she's talking to him. She even references, "This is exactly what I saw you doing." And
it's all very
just
well
sets up all those little
together.
bits. But I love that girl, because that girl, when she asked him out, she looked so innocent and she looked so timid. And then when you see her outside the car, you're like, "Oh no, she's not." How she can just change her face. She looks so sinister.
Yeah, and that's why I like doing it like this as well, like this structure like this going through the movie, because when we get to, of course, like, you know, after this and talking about like little things as well, there's going to be a lot about like everything. And one of the big things, of course, is going to be like the performances, the lead this, which is obviously a big thing I want to talk about. But Brent is now home. He's listening to the fucking heavy metal shit, like, you know, heavy stuff. His mum comes in, and then obviously you get the sense that their relationship between them is definitely not on the best of terms. The death of the father and obviously her husband. He clearly blames himself, and the mum is clearly, obviously, you know, struggling with everything that's happened. You know, she's obviously, you know, she's navigating without a husband now, like, you know, and having a kid. He's dealing with what he's doing. The sad part, and I say this is all.
I was going to say, you can see as well that she's trying not to blame him.
Yes.
She doesn't want him to be in a car with someone else driving or someone inexperienced driving, because that's what happened, and that's what she thinks caused the crash. It was his inexperience, apparently, that caused the crash in her mind. And you can tell she's just like, I don't want to blame you, but you were driving the car. But it's one of those, like, no one's expecting a half-naked man covered in blood walking down the street. It's so how can you blame it? And she can see she's really trying not to, and she just wants to protect him. It's like she's saying, like, I don't want you to go in your car with your girlfriend because she's just passed her test.
Yeah,
and he's like, she says to him, "I'll call you a cab instead of her driving you to prom." And he goes, "It's still a car. What's the difference?"
Yeah.
Like it's still in a car, so just you can't control it. You can't talk. We can't just pick and choose what we're afraid of.
Yeah, they're stuck in the tough thing is that they're stuck in a situation
Mm.
that is always going to be like emotionally surrounding them, because it's not
Mm.
a tough thing, it's not an easy thing for people to move on from, because
Mm.
they're always going to be dealing with it. And
Yeah.
that's the hard part, is that, like, you know, they will be dealing in it with something like this for the rest of their life. It's not like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like, mum, where's my shoes? Oh, I put them
Yeah.
here, where they're not there anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like her husband has died, his father has died. He's, you
Yeah.
know, essentially been the reason that it happened, even though, once again, like
Mm.
you're saying, and you're rightly saying, it's not his fault that some guy with a carved chest
Mm.
walks into the middle of the road. But as also as
Yeah.
well, he is going to blame himself at the
Yeah.
same time for it. So once again, like, it's just the
Exactly.
emotional struggles that we already get at the start of this
Mm.
movie, and then of course, like, you know, the twists and turns of where we go. But
Mm.
he heads out after this, because obviously, you know, it's not the nicest situation for it to be in. He
Yeah.
heads out for a walk with his dog, and he takes the necklace that has a blade on it. And as he's walking down the road, we have that shot of like the heavy metal music, and he's clenching his fists,
Mm.
and he's got blood coming down his hands because he's holding that blade.
Yeah.
He's got blood running down his arms and everything. He decides to climb this like small, like, sort of cliff thing that is
Mm.
there, and threatens to let it all go, but ends up basically but essentially it's like him like going, is this the day that I end it all? You know,
Yeah.
like, is this the day where I go, I've had enough?
I had the
And
same
then,
thought. Mm.
yeah, but when he does it as well, it's almost as if he has that quick moment where he goes like, not today, but then he
Yeah.
slips. And then I
Yeah.
like that, because when he slips, it
Mm.
then becomes about like him actually deciding that it's not the day, because he then has to be the one that pulls himself up. You know, he has to
Yeah.
be the one that makes that decision to go, I
Yeah.
can let go and that's it, or I
Yeah.
can
Or I
like,
can.
you know, I can keep going, you know, and
Yeah.
keep working.
Yeah.
Sadly, it doesn't get better for him, but at least at that
No.
moment, he's made the decision to go,
Yeah.
there can be another day, you know?
Yeah. It shows that he's still got that will to survive in him, as much as it pains him. It's like literally that rock slips and he almost falls and he catches himself, and it's like, oh, he does want to live. He like this
Yeah.
dangerous situation has made him go, I don't want to die. I don't want to do this just yet. You know.
Yeah.
It also is, again, a lot of foreshadowing to show that he can climb a sheer cliff face. He can climb in very hard situations. He's got skills to do that, which might come up again. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
And
But
he
but
climbs to the top. Then after that, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and basically he climbs to the top. He manages to get up. He you know, he decides that today is not the day to end it, which is great for him. But then at this moment, maybe not, because as he sits on the edge of the cliff, taking, like, he's got a pipe. I don't know if he's doing crack or whatever, or he's just doing weed, or you know, weed pipe or whatever.
I think he's just smoking weed. I don't think it's that.
Yeah. Every time I see a pipe, I'm like, crack. But whatever. Anyway, he then gets properly chloroformed by a mysterious stranger and then dragged away. We cut back to his mate from earlier, who's going to prom with the goth chick and who doesn't seem to have the best family. So basically, like you mentioned earlier on, like, every character in this is troubled in their own way, right? And clearly, like, the goth girl is having a tough relationship with her dad or with her parents and stuff like that. You know, maybe it's not fitting with them, maybe it's not making the right decisions, or them not making the right decisions from before. It can be a million things. But like you said, like, that song at the start, The Lonesome Loser, actually is so relevant to so many people throughout this. But also, her dad is a cop, so that will obviously be something that's a big part of the story as well. Brent's mum and girlfriend are looking out for him, but the dog, basically, they're going looking for him, but they find the dog. Don't like this bit, of course, because it's the dog. But the dog basically has been stabbed or basically hurt, stuff like that. I'm assuming that the dog dies, because there's a bit where, like, you think he's alive, and then he, like, stops breathing, and she stops the car.
So
and you're like,
she's driving him to the vet, and you can see him breathing, and he stops, and the music stops, and she stops the car, and she starts crying. I think it is that implication that she hasn't been quick enough. She didn't get him there in time. And I think as well, it's the filmmakers going, because, you know, we've all seen films and we always go, the dog better not die. And in this one, they've gone, the dog has died. Everything is on the table.
Yeah.
And that's how I took
Fucking
that scene. And like,
Yeah.
this is not going to get easier. This is going to be tough. And these people that we're dealing with, who have done whatever they've done, they're happily kill a dog, so they're gonna do a lot worse to this kid.
Absolutely. Like, always remember, you're watching an Australian horror movie. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. And that's something I'll talk about at the end as well. But yeah, like, you're watching an Australian horror movie. So expect the unexpected, or even the things that you expect probably aren't going to go the way or go further than what you ever expect them to go. But then we cut back to a van with Brent. Basically, he's absolutely out of it. He's in the back, and guess who's bloody behind this? Only Lola, the girl from the start, and her dad, the absolute bloody buggers. Basically, he should have said yes to going to prom with her, and then from here on out, really, this is where the movie takes the shift to what some people call torture porn, so to speak. I don't really fucking know, but whatever the subgenre that you want to put this in. But this movie takes that darker turn, even though like it still continues to try and be like the dark comedy, which it successfully does in this movie. I mean, of course, there are going to be people that can't laugh at a movie like this, but I'm a weirdo that can laugh at this movie. But yeah, at this point onwards, it does get all kinds of really fucked up. But at this point, Lola puts on her prom dress with her dad watching. Yes, it's really fucking creepy. As we go through this as well, we do seem to think that there is more to the relationship than just dad and daughter. Once again, Australian horror, it's going to go to the places where it's going to go. But yeah, it's gross, it's fucked up. He's like sort of watches her while she's getting dressed and stuff. It's uncomfortable, it's unsettling. And she's got this like proper like 2000 song that like is so fucking shit, but that comes up quite a few times.
That pop song that keeps coming up, and she's like writing in a diary, and this is that thing again of foreshadowing again, that there's all these hints of all this stuff that's to come as you watch these opening scenes. Like, she's going through a scrapbook of some sorts, and she puts Brent's picture in it and folds it up, and you realize it like when there's a wide shot of her closing the scrapbook, and you see that scrapbook is thick as hell, and his picture is at the back. So like this is not the first time that whatever is happening. So there's more and that foreshadowing of this is more to come, and there's this bigger story here.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because of course that plays a huge part later on as well in one of the scenes that we get to. But then we are at the dinner table. That's something very reminiscent, very much like a lot of the movie, to the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. We get it almost feels like a proper almost like a replication of a shot from Texas Chainsaw, where they're sitting there at the table. She does that thing where she's like looking round over at him and stuff, you're getting his point of view. This movie is definitely, you can see the influences on films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre on it and stuff like that, which of course, is a great movie to be influenced from. But they do it in this movie, they do it in the right way. Like, it's not like where they're like, oh, remember Texas Chainsaw Massacre and we're ripping it off. No, this movie is unapologetically like it is its own thing, but it knows the right influences, it knows the right things to take from in regards to like the iconography of horror. It goes like, oh, okay, well, this is how horror has worked and did the right things, and it will help us tell our story and tell our movie if we do stuff. But there are the little nods in there, like I said, like this bit is very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we are with Lola, her dad, and some old woman with a hole in her head. That's right, you heard right, she's got a big old hole in her head. And Brent, of course, he's tied to a chair but now wearing a tuxedo, so at least if he dies in style. They inject Brent in go on.
What I loved about this scene is not just like you're talking about, the outfits, it's how bright everything is. So like when we're talking about Texas Chainsaw, then like that's like it's a very muted kind of like sepia tone, kind of dark, dingy dinner set table. And this one, it's got the same framing, but everyone's like really nicely dressed. The whole room is really brightly lit. There's colours and bright stuff everywhere because they're basically having their own prom in the house. Like everyone's dressed up really nice. The dinner table like all set up really nice. Yeah, it's like it's just like it's the complete opposite of what that Texas Chainsaw was. If that's dark and dingy, this is just they've set up for a really nice party. Like it's
Yeah,
that
yeah, exactly. Like a
weird
little. It's almost
juxtaposition.
like a children's tea party, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
what it's a little bit like.
yeah.
But then here, of course, like I said, like from this point, this is like where the movie just goes full throttle, like fucked up. They inject Brent in the throat with bleach so he can't talk, and they clearly think it's fun because obviously they're both psychos. As
Yeah.
Lola, she takes the Polaroid with Brent, and we really get like from this point onwards as well. We like she isn't somebody that feels like she's been talked into this, like it's not like the
No.
family business. It feels like she is the head of the table. She is the
Yeah.
purest of evil.
This is her
Yeah,
idea. It's like the little girl of I want a pony, I want this, I want that. Give me to me, daddy. And the dad's just like, I will do anything you ask for, princess. And then taken
yeah,
to a whole nother level of
yeah.
he's the one who's figured out how to do what she's asking for. And yeah, it's
It's all fucked
clear,
up.
very clear that she is loving this. She is
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
having the
it.
best time.
She is. That's the thing. She's like reveling in it. Like I said, you realize that she is purest form of evil at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course now it's dinner time as they're at the table and they got some KFC and some milk. Also, it is fucking gross as well because they have like it's such great filmmaking because they to add to like the sense of how like gross these people are and how evil and stuff. Like it's like they have the milk and the chicken all over their mouth.
Yeah.
Like it's all over.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. Like you have the shots as well because this movie is so well like shot as well, which once again I'll talk about as well. But like when they have the close ups of their face and they've got milk and stuff all over their lips, and it's just that extra element of like the grossness, that they add to this movie that they don't have to. But they do.
Yeah.
And even little things like having milk around their mouth is like, ugh, that's fucking gross.
Yeah. It's that exaggeration over and over again that a lot of actors now, say if something like this was made now, they wouldn't want to look messy. They wouldn't want to look gross because they'd have to keep take after take and like milk all over them and like food over and over. And this one, they would just say, no, we want to look sinister. We want to look gross. We want to look off-putting. And it just sets this tone of like, again, when we talked about earlier of like, he was really nice and she was, she turns out to not be so nice. He's just this nice, sweet kid who's now sat there. And these people are just getting more and more unhinged. And he has no idea why. And he's done nothing wrong for it to be happening.
I know this poor guy, he's done nothing wrong, and of course, like as I said, it will just continue to get worse for him because now Lola is teasing Brent and torturing him with KFC. But his refusal to basically his refusal to suck Lola's dirty, greasy fingers does not make them happy. So then the dad, he goes off and gets a hammer and threatens him.
Yeah.
Brent says that he needs a wee, so he's trying to see if there's a way of him trying to get out of it. So Lola then she downs her milk, holds his dick, and then makes him go for a piss in a glass. Now, of course, at this point, like it's not easy to like perform when you need to. You know what I mean? So he's sitting there trying to go. They're counting to 10, and basically she says, "You got to count to 10. If you're not done, she's going to get the dad to nail his dick to a chair." Fucking horrible. It's not nice at all. But of course, just in time, it does happen. He does manages to. He manages to piss. And then what I love is that then he gets his own back because then he fucking double kicks Lola right into like the table. Oh, basically he manages to slip out of the ropes that he's got because obviously he's all tied out. And then he hops out although that bit, it isn't funny, but it is a little bit funny because just to see him hopping out the door was like a little bit funny. It's like Bugs Bunny. But he starts hopping out the door and then he escapes. But sadly, that's only for now. Unfortunately, you've got too much of the movie left to know, like, oh, he's got away, and then like that's the end of the movie because they do find him and they go after him, and then Brent climbs a tree, and then they throw rocks at him, and then he falls and gets captured again. Like, of course, proper sad times.
It's
Basically,
the fact that when they're throwing those rocks, when they're throwing them, they're absolutely loving it. They're treating it like it's a game. It's just a game to them. Oh, we got away. It's another added level to the game that we haven't had before. And we'll just love it. And I love the shot where they're throwing him and it's a wide shot from behind. And he's up the tree and they're throwing the rocks. And one of them shows him, like, they hit him and it just shows him literally falling out of the tree, landing on the car. And it's that, oh, fuck. It's again, the sledgehammer, reality is hit. He's back. He didn't get away.
And they're just laughing at him and they just think it's like they're just having the best fucking time in the world.
Yeah.
Like basically
it's like party
torturing
games.
this poor guy. Yeah, exactly. But then of course They take him back. They tie him to a chair, so he doesn't get away again. And the dad, unfortunately, once again, everything escalates, everything gets worse and worse. Like, you think you've seen some bad shit, and then more bad shit, but worse bad shit happens because the dad hammers knives through Brent's feet, who lets out what I love. And once again, this is performance driven as well. And once again, I'm gonna go. I don't want to talk too like I performance is of course a huge part of movies, so that's why I like trying to leave it till the end, like when I do things like this. But he lets out some pure guttural pain screams, like, you know, because of course he's had this injection in his throat, the bleach and stuff, so obviously it stops him talking and so on. But the screams that he's letting out in this pain, you know, when he's getting his knives driven into his feet, like, it's just so well performed. Like, everything about this movie is so well performed, which we get into. But Lola, of course, you know, she basically starts sitting on his lap, you know, keeping him there while the dad's hammering these knives into his feet. But then Brent is refusing to cry. He's fighting through the pain, and she goes,
"Are you going to cry? Are you going to cry? Cry for me!" And she's getting more and more annoyed that because he's just stopped. He's just tries to hold it in, and I love the shot because it's over Lola's shoulder, and she's like, "Cry, cry!" And he just looks up at her. You can see the determination on his face to not give her the satisfaction. As you can hear the thuds over and over again, and he's shaking. It's that he's gone, right, I am going to fight this tooth and nail because I do not want to see this horrible person satisfied at my pain. And it's like such a good moment.
Yeah, it's so great. And it's almost like when he made that decision to live, you know, and pull himself up off that cliff, when he slipped, you know, he's like, this is the day I'm going to end it. I slipped and realized that it's not the day. It's almost from that point onwards, he realized, like, no, I want to survive. I'm going to survive. And everything that they put him through, like, it's now, like, that's what's driving him, you know, like, to keep going. And of course, you know, it's just so fucking horrible. But like you mentioned earlier on about the family album that's been going on, her photo album that she's got, it's time to see some old childhood photos. But then, of course, it turns into us showing us some horrible things they do. Basically, the album is full of all the horrible things that they've done, that they've been doing to people. And of course, they've done this before. One of them being the person that Brent crashed his car. Basically, the guy that at the start of the film who was walking with the blood on his, the heart carved into his chest, he was the guy who was captured by then. So basically, it's all their bloody fault that he ended up crashing the car. You know,
that's what I mean, like that foreshadowing of him. That moment he realizes that this girl is the reason why I am feeling this way and why I lost my dad and why I everything that's happened. It's all her fault. And it's that thing, she says she's looking for her Prince Charming. That's why she kidnaps these boys. And she makes them go through these prom nights and go through these tortures because she's looking for her prince. And she can never seem to find him. And that boy that was in the road was the one that got away, as they put it. So that's when he goes, well, where are the rest of them then? So what's been happening all this time? And that, I think in that scene, when it looks at Brett and he sees it, he realizes that you see a switch flip in him. It's not the right, I'm gonna fight this until they kill me. It's the I am gonna get out of this one because I am now angry. I'm not determined anymore. I am angry at this person on what they've done.
It was all their fault. Like, if it never happened, my dad wouldn't be dead. I wouldn't be where I am. The mother wouldn't be where I am. It's all their fault. And you're right. Also, every now and again, so for the benefit of doing this and going through the movie, and for the fact that I don't fucking like it, and I will flat out say it, like, sadly, this is the thing. Annoyingly, there are big things sometimes that happen in movies that really piss me off, but I really don't want it in it. But we do every now and again. We keep cutting back to the scenes of Brent's mate and the goth girl. I'm not going to really go over any more of those scenes unless they make a point in the thing, because I'm not going to lie to you. I don't fucking like them because I can see why. It's basically, the movie is so heavy, it's so dark, and it has so much that's going on when it comes to like the violence and brutality and everything, that it's almost like they shove these scenes in there to be a little bit of a relief of everything that's going on.
It's the moments of levity, not quite comedy relief, but it's moments of showing. It's also kind of given an excuse to show like this is why his friend hasn't figured out where his best mate is. Why isn't his best mate at the prom? Because the goth girl has gotten so pissed and wants to jump his bones, essentially. For whatever reason she's doing it. She's obviously doing it for some kind of rooted traumatic experience. I mean, it's very obvious. It's not that she wants to actually sleep with him, but I think they just keep cutting away to that to kind of show this is where everyone is. Here's a little bit of comedy, not quite comedy relief, but here's a little bit of levity before we go back and carry on. But it's just they get drunk,
and that's what really sucks, because they do it annoyingly a bit too much in the movie. And when they do it, I'm annoyed, because it's like we could be spending a little bit more time. Like, even if it was like earlier in the movie, you spend that little bit more time with these, because obviously essentially, as horrible as the things that are going on and happening to Brent and what Lola and her dad and everything that's happening, you still are so intrigued by them. And you are so intrigued by what's happening, what happened in the past, and so on.
Yeah.
I would much rather I'm the type of person that I would much rather spend my whole time with these horrible people than cutting away to some nice people doing what they're doing. So I'm the same as you. I completely understand why they do it, but I just wish they didn't, because I think the movie would be better for it. And when they do cut away to certain other people, like we go through, like when it comes to be like the mum and the girlfriend, there's a reason they're doing it. There's a purpose. A lot of it is all about because they're like trying to find him and stuff. Those scenes absolutely fine because they're driving the movie. But when they keep cutting away to the goth girl and the friend, I'm like, no. Like, I remember sitting there going, that's a fucking shame, because I'm like, that's, you know, but oh well, it is what it is.
But that relationship, like that leads to like him bringing her home, and then the dad, who's a police officer, finding out that he's still missing, and that's what leads to more kind of progression in the story that way. It's just a really roundabout way that they ended up doing it. So you can kind of push those to a side. Like, it's this good. It's that the lonely people, like the loved ones. What's she looking for? What's he looking for? All these different versions of like what everyone's at kind of after in kind of connection in some way. I think one thing as well I've noticed in like with this film now, the three women are the driving force. Well, maybe not the mother, but the three teenage girls are the driving force in things. So Lola kidnaps Brent. The goth girl comes on to the boy,
the friend,
and and the girlfriend is the one who's out looking for him. The mother doesn't really do much. She stands and cries in the window. Yeah, that's basically all she does in this film. But it's all the main drivers of the progression of the story are the three teenage women in it, which I found really interesting. It's just that they're driving it in different ways. But you're
exactly right. Yeah, but back with Brent, and fucking hell, he's getting fucked up by a fork. And basically, this is where he's getting his own heart carved into, you know, like obviously, this is obviously their MO, you know, where they, this is what they do, where they carve a heart into the victim's chest. And unfortunately, the saying where you say like, oh, rubbing salt into the wound, literally happens. Sadly, they've carved this heart into his chest. It's blood, it's gush, you know, like it's all open, everything like that. And Lola's there having the time of her life, chucking salt, like not a little pinch, it's the whole fucking shit.
It's the moment though where they throw salt on him, and then she turns to her dad and goes, "Careful, Dad." Like, she's something along the lines of, they say not to put too much salt, and then you just see her look down and just pull the lid off of the tub, and you're like, Jesus Christ, let's just stop. Pure... Why? Why do you keep doing it? And it's like
so sadistic, so brutal, so evil. And then you have like Brent once again, he's letting out those guttural fucking sounds, and it's just like, it's so like horrible to watch this nice like guy who's had to go through what it is deal with these fucking absolutely horrible people. But Lola, she gets a fancy little crown, but it's not that fancy, it's just a paper one from a cracker, and has a slow dance with Brent, like, you know, as much as she can wear white with knives in his feet. Exactly. And then the dad's throwing glitter all around and making it look very nice. And obviously, you know, but then it goes to like really creepy levels, because then you have the daddy daughter dance, the type of daddy daughter dance you don't want to see. because then we sort of like get a little bit more of an understanding of like their relationship, where there may be the incestuous side of the relationship, where she's like talking about how the dad has always been her prince, and you're like, this is fucked up. Let's move on. Like,
you even see Brent's face.
Yeah,
it's like, with everything that's happened to him, he's like, this is the most fucked up thing that's happened tonight. Like, this is weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
he's
I
just like,
that.
oh, fucking hell, I've got knives in my feet. I've had a bleach shoved in my neck, and now I'm watching this. This is the worst thing out of it. You're right. But Brent is trying to get out of the ropes again, and he notices that he drops his necklace, you know, the one that he had with the razor on it.
Yes.
And then we get a quick scene where we know that the goth girl's dad is out there looking for Brent, but like I said, I'll skip over those sort of things. But then we were back with the torture house, where things are getting even more fucked up, where we find out that they have a hidden basement, like under like a rug or a mat or whatever it is. Anyway, they've got a hidden basement, a big fucking room in their kitchen, where they've been keeping people down there who have essentially turned into zombies. But how, you ask? Well, that's what we find out next, because they fucking exactly, because they drill fucking holes into people's skulls and pour boiling water into the hole to boil their brains. That's how they bloody do
insane.
it. I know.
It's that moment as well. It's like, so when you say like that earlier line where she said he was the one that got away, and you're like, well, what did they do with all the other ones? You think, well, did they kill them? Like, no, they keep them in a hole in the basement and feed them roadkill. Like, what the fuck? Where did that come from?
They proper zombified these people.
Yeah. I like that as well, because earlier in the film, you do see that van after Brent gets hammered and kidnapped. You see a car stop, pick up some roadkill, and then carry on. And then they pull out the same roadkill. So it was this, like, everything was just, there's this constant foreshadowing. And a bunch of boys in a basement, zombies. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, I know. They got zombies. And then, unfortunately, with Brent tied to a chair, of course, that they do the same to him. And yes, it's messed up and it is tough to watch. But as they try and make the hole in Brent's head bigger for the boiling water, because basically she's sitting there and then she puts it. Basically, what's insane about this movie, that this isn't a movie where it is shying away from anything. Like I said, this is Australian horror, and we'll talk about that as well. But this is Australian horror. It will show you everything. It will go to those places where you don't think it will. And of course, it will be fucking creative doing it. But they do. They do literally drill a hole into Brent's head. They boil the kettle. She can't get the water in to his head. So then they decide that basically she gets the dad to make the hole in his head a bit bigger, and it's really fucked up. And basically what happens is that Brent, basically as it's happening, Brent manages to slip what he's got anyway, and basically the drill slips and basically it catches the dad on the face. As that happened, Brent manages to pulls the knife out from his feet. Of course, that fucking is going to fucking hurt. And then he ends up stabbing the dad a zillion times in the neck. Of course, we're seeing all of this. We don't shy away from it. We're seeing everything.
Nope.
And then Lola, during this, everything that's going on, Lola jumps on Brent's back and he manages to knock her out. And then he pushes the dad down this giant hole basement thing where the zombie people are. But Lola is back and pushes Brent down there. Also, whilst the zombie people are feasting on the dad, Lola obviously at this point is completely distraught.
Yeah,
which obviously we're all fucking okay with. We don't give a shit. And then she knocks Brent down there with them. Lola decides to go to smother the old lady that they call Bright Eyes. So like I mentioned, there is another lady in the movie. She's already got a hole in her head. They're already like, she's horrible to her throughout the whole fucking movie. But you don't necessarily like know who this woman is just yet.
Yeah.
Until this
it might be the like the mother or something.
Well, that's what happens. Yes, because they call her Bright Eyes in the movie, but basically she's got the hole in her head. But basically Lola, at this point, obviously the dad's dead. She's obviously, we already know she's fucking lost it. But at this point, she feels like she's got nothing to live for. Like, that's it. So then she goes upstairs, she smothers her. But yeah, she does say like mother or mum or something like that. So it is her actual mum. So she just then killed her mum. And like, then you think to yourself, once again, it becomes like, when you get movies that are so well made like this, and I say this quite a lot, that you get a lot of shit movies now where you're watching what is happening at that present time. Like, what is happening in that movie is what you're watching. But a lot of the time, especially in modern day horror,
Mm.
you don't necessarily care about what comes after, and you definitely
Mm.
don't care about what came before. With
Yeah.
this movie, because it's so well put together, so well
Mm.
structured, and so well done, everything, you're interested about the before. So you're
Mm.
watching what you're seeing. You, of course, want to know if anything is going to happen afterwards.
Mm.
But at that point, you're still in your head, you're like, well, what happens before? I want to see more about how this happened to be, because
Yeah.
the fact that they essentially have tortured their own mother, she's tortured her
Mm.
own mother, and they drilled a head in their own mother, and then she's now smothered her and killed her. It's so
Yeah.
fucked up, but then you can't help but want to know more about how it fucking all got to this,
Yeah.
you know?
Where did this all come from? Where did this start? Why is this a thing? I
Yeah,
tell you what, that scene alone is a masterclass. When you're talking about being well put together, that scene is a masterclass in how to escalate tension.
yeah,
Because it starts it off with the drill. She says, "Oh, this is my first time." She's never actually done it before. It's always been the dad, and she goes to do it, and she slips and just cuts his face because she doesn't press hard enough. So then they has to redo it, and she presses hard enough and gets that drill in there.
and it
Then
sounds so fucking
she can't
horrible.
get the water in, so it's the need to make it bigger. So you keep thinking that how's Brent going to get out of this one, and it just keeps escalating more and more, and getting like, oh, there's a little bit more, oh, there's a little bit more torture, oh, she's got to do it a little bit differently, and it just keeps going and going right up until that breaking point of when he manages to cut his wrists free, and it's just so well done. That whole like
Yeah,
3 or 4 minute scene is so tense, and you are like, what's going to happen next? How is he going to do this? And then when it does all kick off, and I think she pushes him down there and she says, like, I'm going to go kill your mum. I'm going to go slit your mum's
oh
throat.
yeah, that
And then
that
I'm going to
happens
stab your mum in the neck.
afterwards. Yeah,
I can't remember if it's this one or next one, but I'm going to stab your mum in the neck. I'm going to stab your girlfriend in the heart because you stabbed me in the heart. And it's just like, oh, and you see him, the doors just close, and he's just like, what do I do now?
I know, and that's the thing. You're exactly right, because that's where you are. You're like, oh shit, like, is this now like where like Brent's journey ends? Because now like she's like pushed him down there. We get the quick scene where we get Brent's girlfriend. She actually like remembers. Like I said, when we move away from what's happening with them, to push the story along, to get help him. Like that's what I'm fine with, because it adds to the story. It's good writing. You know what I mean? But Brent basically, Brent's girlfriend remembers that Lola asked Brent to the dance, and then basically she calls the girl's cop dad, and then the dad, he goes out checking. He basically, the cop goes to the house, but then he gets basically. Remember the bit in The Shining with Halloran where you think he's come
Yeah.
to save the day?
Yeah.
They clearly like thought, let's do The Shining in this moment, because you've got the cop who turns up at the house and you think, oh, he's here like to save the day. He's going to go in, help him. And the Halloran things happens to him where he literally goes in, he looks down the basement and sees Brent, and you've got that shot. And then next thing you know, Lola just comes out and murders him. And then like basically like, and just as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, that's like The Shining, isn't it? Like, you've got the heroes coming to save the day, and then it doesn't fucking happen.
So if it was a modern, if this was made in 2009 in America, he would have shown up, she would have ran at him, he would have turned and like shot her in the head or something. And it would have been like, that would have been the ending of like, it would have been like, oh my God, these are the people that have been doing this whole time. But here it's like, nope, it's still fucked, and it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
And so I really liked that shining moment of him just showing up, going like, oh my God, done. Right, and Lola's off.
Yeah, that's it. And then obviously with no one seemingly left there really to help Brent, and you're like, oh, this is so fucked, and he's definitely going to die. Lola has a knife, and like you mentioned, this is where she tells him that she's going to go and kill his mum and then go and kill his girlfriend. She walks off down the middle of the road. Once again, great shot, but we're getting to that. She's walking down the middle of the road with a knife. She's completely fucking lost it at this point. And then she's got the world's most messed up family album with her as she's walking down the road. But somehow, sadly, even though you want nothing but horrible things to happen to her because she's doing such horrible things, she also ends up being the luckiest person in the world, because as one of the people that she's going to kill is the person that's driving down the fucking road, which is Brent's girlfriend, and literally drives right into her. So of course it all kicks off. They have a cool little fight in a car and so on like that, in and outside of the car and stuff like that. Back obviously with Brent at the house, Brent manages to make a ladder made of humans and bones and stuff. He basically puts up all these zombies together and the bones and manages to get out of this basement. He takes the police car that obviously the cop left there. He's driving like at Fast and Furious style, like, man. He catches up to Lola and his girlfriend in a scene the same as what happened with his dad earlier. I love the fact that they essentially do the same scene where he's driving along and then he ends up seeing his girlfriend in the road like he did the guy at the start, and he swerves almost exactly the same. But luckily he doesn't end up the same sort of way. He doesn't hit her or anything that.
He's got the control this time. He controls it round. He gets back into the middle of the road, and then there she is.
Yeah, as he's got more experience with torture in life, now he's got more experience of handling situations such as driving and not driving into people and stuff like that. But yeah, luckily he doesn't hit his girlfriend. But his girlfriend basically gets in the car, and then suddenly we see Lola. Basically, what he does is that he ends up hitting Lola instead, which is obviously, we're all clapping. We're like, finally. You think, of course, like, she's definitely dead. They're both in the car, and then suddenly we get that wide shot where we see Lola crawling up the road. She's covered in blood, and her wrist is completely fucking snapped.
Oh, it's so
it's so good. It's so like it. Once again, it adds to the brutality and the violence of what the movie is. Like, the imagery of this movie is so ultra violent and great. But it's like even little things like of her crawling up the road and her bone is coming out her wrist and stuff. And you're like, that's all fucking fucked up.
And I remember seeing that shot and just thinking, why won't you just stop? Like, your whole family's dead. You've been, like, it's done. It's over. You are dead anyway. Like, if you don't, like, you're in Australia, you're probably 4 hours from a hospital. Like, you've been hit by a car. You are crawling down the road with nothing. Everything's hanging together with hardly any skin. Why are you still going? I don't understand what her problem is. Like,
she's essentially turned into the T-800.
Yeah, she's so determined to kill these people, and we still don't know why. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like she's so like there's a level of determination there that's beyond just, we're psycho killers. Like, this is I have to kill these people, and you just don't know why, and I always wanted to know. But you're not going to find out because of what happens next.
Exactly. And then, of course, because really, with her going down the road and Brent and his girlfriend is in the car, there's only one thing that the Brent can do, and that is to run her over. He reverses and goes straight into her head. We get like a really, really like long, where like sort of zoom in, very slow zoom in shot that goes closer and closer to Lola's face. And then, bonk right on her bonce. And then she's left, presumably, obviously, definitely dead. Brent returns home, and the movie essentially ends with an embrace with the mum and the girlfriend. And maybe, of course, after everything that he's gone through, a new embrace on life itself after surviving everything. And I like, once again, the way the movie ends. It's very much like, he embraces his girlfriend, embraces his mum. And like I said, it's like, okay, life is worth living after everything I've gone through before the movie with, and everything that led up to what happened with the torture, and then everything that has happened. It's like that new look out on life where it's like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. I think maybe it's that whole thing of like, I don't have to blame myself anymore, because I know now I know why this happened, and now I know who did it. And I have been able to some way cathartically take out the person that put me through all of this. They've put me through even more worse things than the car crash alone. And I've been able to get all that anger and pain and suffering out on this fucked up family. And
and also it's interesting as well that like all this time, like that 6 months where we get like, before, the start of the movie, 6 months later and stuff, Brent has spent all that time thinking that he's a bad person. when really he's come face to face with the real bad people, the
Yeah.
real true evil that there is, and realizes, oh shit, I'm not a bad person. I just made a mistake. I can be forgiven for that, but these people can't ever be forgiven for what they did.
He's a good person that bad things have happened to. I think that's everybody in this film, really. Like, they're just good people that have been through bad things, and the real bad people are the ones getting away with it because they don't think it's bad, and now they've had their comeuppance.
Yeah, and thank bloody God, even though it's a fucked up enjoyable ride, but we'll go through all that. Obviously, general conversation wise, obviously, this is just talking before we go into overall thoughts. Anything, if there's other things, for me. Obviously, I've mentioned throughout this sort of thing, but this movie is on a technical journey, a really, really very well-made movie. Like, that's one of the other things that I take from this movie when I watched it was like, what a fucking really well-made movie. It's all the set pieces are very well done. The use of the camera in this movie is expertly done because this person clearly understands the impact of lenses. That's one of the things what was really important to me when I watched this. Like, this person really understands the use of lenses of going, the biggest impact would be to use the lens that's going to give me the depth of field, or this is going to be a close-up shot, and that's going to give this scene a bigger impact. But there's also a lot of really well used wide angle and anamorphic sort of shots in this, like you mentioned as well earlier as well. Like, you've got some really cool wide angle shots. You've got lesser filmmakers, and especially today, a lot of the time they don't, because they might not understand how important lenses or the technical aspect of filmmaking is. A lot of the time they don't do it. So even shots like where you've got the really wide shot where Brent is literally in the center of the shot with with the blood heart on him, and you've got this really wide angle. So many people now would just be doing close-ups of it and stuff like that. But by showing you everything that's happening just in that shot, and it opens it up. Once again, that means, when you watch movies like this, you go, okay, this is a real filmmaker who understands technical filmmaking. He's made he's made a movie that looks visually very nice. Like, the visual style matches the storytelling and everything like that. And once again, it was a plus for me.
I found as well, it's the things that happen are so extravagant and over the top. This one I was talking about the coloring of, so inside Lola's house, the coloring is so bright because it is so over the top. The whole every scene in there, so exaggerated and over the top. And then every shot outside of that, they're just quite normal colored. Like, everyone's dressed normally, nothing super bright. It's quite darkly lit at times as well. Like, in the house, there's that shot and the mum's just looking out the window. It's all dark behind her. You can only see her. It's quite grey. And then it cuts to the house and it's all this extravagant colour. And it's showing these two separate kind of events that are going on. It's just a really good way of showing, like, here is this absolutely absurdity part of the film, and here is the regular, normal people. And it's just stuff like that. There's a shot that I absolutely love when we're talking about the cut on his chest. There's a shot where she starts dancing with him, and there's the glitter, and you can see, there's one shot, you see Oil's chest, and it's absolutely covered in the glitter. So it's just bleeding into the blood in it, and it's just got this bright, sparkly wound all over his chest. And I just thought, little details like that show this kind of continued exaggeration of the absurdity of what he's going through, and the ridiculousness of these actions and injuries. It's just so well done. And again, the framing and use of lenses and lighting, it's so good. It's just, I think pretty much every aspect of this film is just bang on from a filmmaking standpoint.
Yeah, it is it's one of those movies that if I look at it and I'm rating it on a technical level, it's pretty much perfect for me because, like I said, it is using the camera, it is using the lenses and the right lenses for the right reasons. Like, when you're drilling into his head, that's when you're doing the close-up shots. You're not doing the wide shots. But then when you've got him doing something else, then that's when you use the wide shot and open it up so you can see all the horrible things that are happening. But that bit when somebody's drilling into somebody's head, you want the fucking close-up shot of that. And they do it. And I love that. And once again, like visually, they don't shy away from any of it, and it's just fantastic. But once again, that does lead into one of the other things about it is that like this is so I don't know, like of course this is just me saying it as well, but I think that Australian horror is the best horror in regards to showing pure horror when it comes to the brutality and the violent and the visceral side of it. I always say, and I talk a lot recently, like about how I like at the moment looking at what places, what countries, what filmmakers and so on like that are trying to show us like the purest form of what horror is, whether that's now or whether that's from the past. And obviously spoken quite a lot recently on like live streams and stuff about like J horror and stuff. I think like there is something so terrifying about that, and that is like using the technical journey that you go on, but also how slow paced they are and how scary they can be. But they are of course a different type of horror. But when you're like talking about what's great about Australian horror, and they showed this in say like Talk to Me, they showed this in Bring Her Back, and then of course like even in old school movies like Wolf Creek, which I remember watching that and I was just like, Jesus Christ, like Australian horror, they are not afraid to go to those places of ultra violence, of ultra brutality, but yet somehow they still do it with heart. And and so many other movies now, they will just go the ultra violent route, but you don't give a shit about people. Whereas once again, in Talk to Me, you give a shit about people. Bring Her Back, you give a shit about people. Even in Wolf Creek, you care about these people.
I think
Australian horror is so good at making you care for people, and the most horrible things happen in the most brutal way.
Yeah. When I ever watch an Australian horror, I always think, however, the way it looks like it's been written, which is something that I don't think happens enough in modern horror anymore, especially Western horror, is they went with the story and the people in it first. So it looks like they've gone like, right, the catalyst is this young lad, and he's going through this journey, and then they go, what can we put him through that's also related to his journey and his past and his trauma? They don't come up with a set piece and they go, how can we put that in the film?
You're exactly
they go,
right,
how can we add that? And then it's that, how can we make this realistic enough and not like it's heightened, obviously heightened reality, but it's how can we ground it as close to as possible into real? How can we make this injury real? How can we make this pain look real and feel visceral? And I think they're so good at that taking the story first and then adding in these horror elements, that they don't shy from it. Like you said, they will really go all out and make sure that horror feels impactful and real. It's not someone's got a cut across the throat and all blood splattered. It's someone's got a cut and you can see the flesh bending and you can see the pain and you can hear it in them. It doesn't feel generic. It feels real. And they are just so good at that. Even like when you look at other Australian films, example like Mad Max, like they looked at real like injuries and real crashes, and they crashed real bikes, and like throughout the whole series, even though it got a bit wild, they looked at like what can we ground this in realism and then elevate it. And I think they're just so good at that.
Yeah, you're exactly right when you were saying about like somehow they are so good at portraying trauma before even like the events of the traumatic moments in the movie are actually going to happen. Like you're like when you were saying what you were saying, like it started making me think about Talk to Me and like how there's so much trauma for the lead character before the movie, and then everything happens in the movie. Bring Her Back, we have all the trauma that happens to the characters before the movie and then at the start of the movie, and then more trauma continues to happen where everything else continues to get worse. This film is exactly the same. You have the traumatic events of everything that happened in the film, and then we continue to get the brutality, the violence, and everything like that. And like I said, it is ultra violent, this movie, and Australian horror is so good at doing that, which is why also it's one of the things where people can struggle to watch Australian horror as well, because how far it's willing to go, the lengths and depths of how far it's willing to go, not just emotionally, but how much it's willing to show you. But for me personally, that's a testament to Australian horror. Like, to me personally, that is, I love that, because that means that you're willing to go, remember, you're watching a movie from a genre called horror. We want to show you the most horrible things that you can see, and the things that you don't ever want to see, we're going to show you that. And I think Australian horror is just, to me, one of, if not the best at doing that. It's so good. One of the other things that I had, just really quickly as well, before we do anything else, was I can't not speak about performances. They are so fucking good in this movie. That fact that there is, I mean, once again, 2009, I don't know if people got awards for this. I should have looked for it. But the fact that, you know, Brent, obviously, whoever played, I think it was, who is it? Xavier Samuel, I think it was, that played Brent. Absolutely fucking brilliant in this movie. He's selling everything that makes it feel real, and like I said, the guttural screams that he is giving, like, it's like it cuts to the fucking core of you, you know. And you're just watching a performance. This isn't actually happening. I mean, you hope not, but it's not actually happening. But you're feeling everything, and you're only going to get that through the performance. And like I said as well, and like we've been saying,
make me 100% believe, like, I'm completely sucked in when I'm watching this. It feels like it's happening. Like, you know, you can watch films and you can see people acting. This doesn't feel that way to me. This just feels like it is happening. Again, with Brent and his performance, and the girl who plays Lola, like, they're both just, everyone's firing on all cylinders in this film. It's perfect casting. It's so well put together. Even the small roles, like the little things,
like
that everyone's
the dad is so good and fucking creepy, and he's got like these eyes that are constantly wide open, and there's something like really unsettling about him. Like you mentioned, Lola, Robin McLevy or Levy. Obviously, I always get fucking names wrong, but that's her name. But she, like, once again, like, this is one of those movies where you're like, I would never want another person to be this person in this movie, because they nail it. I don't know if there's many better representations of such an insane person on screen than what Robin McLevy done in this, and that's such a testament to her in this movie. As I said, like, Xavier Samuel just sells everything, whether, you know, all the pain that he's going through, whether it's physical or mental, he's selling absolutely fucking all of it. This is a movie that is just has really just fucking everything. But we're getting to our overall thoughts in a minute anyway. Is there any other little bits that you didn't mention, like, or anyone wanted to talk about, or anything like that, or before we go into overall thoughts in a minute? Or
not really, because we talked about the music choices, and we talked about, like, obviously the one downside is there's a little bit too many of these cutaways. But overall, it's just generally, this is one of those films that more people need to see. Absolutely. It's just, that's all my only thoughts of it. It's one of those, I will always recommend it to people. It just needs to be seen by more people. So, like, obviously, people who liked, you go back and, like, people like Saw, people like Hostel. It's like, but they never bring up the loved ones, and it's perfectly, like, fits in that genre really well. But it is the perfect version of that story in this kind of setting, like the teen drama setting and the emotional setting. It's got everything in there. It's not this forced kind of constant sequel and narrative. It's just this enclosed story that is so well put together that more people need to know about it and see it.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep you. We'll go back to that in a minute, because we've got overall thoughts to come anyway, and I don't want you to spill everything anyway.
I'm trying to hold back.
But you're. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because and we're only go through, of course, like, when we do the overall thoughts, we've fucking spoken about everything anyway, so it's only going to be very quickly anyway. But your first time segment, that is where you, this incredible horror community, or bloody anyone, you can send me your first time horror movie memory, and I read it out on the show. As I always say, it's like fucking free promo, so you're all welcome. But this one was sent over to me from the horror curator on Threads. Somebody actually sent me something on Threads. I couldn't bloody believe it. Although it might have been there for like 2 years. I don't know. So horror curator, if I apologise for not reading it sooner. But after this as well, Dan is going to give us a recommendation, as any of my return guests do as well anyway. But this memory was sent over to me. It says, one of my earliest horror memories is sneaking downstairs one night as a little kid for a drink or for some other reason. I gingerly crept into the front room to ask them, and they were watching Hellraiser. I stood there, rooted to the spot, watching through the crack in the door as the Cenobites came through the hospital walls. I was pretty traumatized by that. It's one of the few times my dad comforted me by tucking me in and making sure I was calm. Hellraiser is one of those things. Like, Nightmare on Elm Street is always the one. Like I always say, like for the years that I've been doing this now, Nightmare on Elm Street is the one that has come up the most. There's a lot of people on their journey, but the Hellraiser is always the one that stands out. Where, like, if that's your first horror movie memory, Hellraiser is a pretty fucking dark one to have. You know,
that's like your first car being a Ferrari. It's a bit much for one go. But that's awesome. That's such a good memory. That's a really good story. I like that.
Absolutely. So thank you so much to the horror curator for sending that over. Of course, when it comes to this segment, and I mentioned it on the last episode as well, that I can only do this with you sending them over, and I do put the posts out there, but sadly I don't really get them in, and I haven't at this point. As I'm doing this, I have no more, and I normally have like a list of them. So I love
more
this
people
segment
need to bring it in. That's such a good thing. It's such a good story, because, and all those first memories. More people need to send that in.
I love
more
it.
People. Yeah.
Absolutely. More people need to send them in, because I love this segment. I started this segment purely selfishly because I want to know what started everybody on their horror journey. But I also love sharing it on, and I get some of these great things over. So I want to, obviously, this segment I've been doing since I literally first started the podcast. Like, I think even maybe in episode 1, I literally had started doing this series. I did this segment. So I love it, but I can only do it if people send them over. So please just go to Instagram or even bloody Thread. So it might take me 2 years to read it, but send them over on any of the socials, and I will add it into the show. Dan, recommendation. Have you got one?
I do. So, but it's not horror. But trust me, just trust me, because obviously last time I was here, I talked about when I saw Alien when I was like 8, and now today we're talking about Australian horror. And again, I said not enough people have seen this film, but there is a television show that's an Australian TV show that, again, not enough people know about. It's called Mr. In Between. It's only got 3 seasons, and that was done on purpose. And it is about a man named Ray Shoesmith, who is he's a hitman and also a bouncer, but he's also a father and an ex-husband and just a person at the end of the day with a very weird moral code. And the whole TV show is a bit like a dark comedy. Again, it's one of those, it's got lots of really great injuries in it, if you're interested in that. But it's about this man's trying to balance literal normal life, not Hollywood normal life, literally the normal life of having a young daughter and trying to get a girlfriend and, being in his 30s, and also being this hitman for hire and having this weird moral code that he has about how the way we should respect each other and stuff. And it is probably one of the best TV shows that nobody's ever seen over here in the West. And it's, again, because you asked me about Australian stuff and like recommendation, it's the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah, it may not be a horror, but if you enjoyed that Australian writing, it is definitely worth a watch. That show is absolutely incredible. The way it's so real and feels so natural, and it's funny in moments, but it's also extremely heartbreaking, and also it's filled with action and gore and all these like realistic kind of moments. So yeah, Mr. In Between is my recommendation if people want more Australian.
Good stuff. There we go. Well, now I've got another recommendation. That's what I like out doing this. Now I have this little thing where I have people like that have been on the show before and do recommendations, and now I keep on getting more recommendations. So I've got even less time now, thanks to everybody who keeps coming on the show and recommending stuff. But of course we've spoken about everything really, and then obviously before that you promote everything that you do with Bearded Horror Reviews. Very quickly. I know you said a little bit as well, but very quickly, what were your overall thoughts on The Loved Ones? I nearly said lovely, but no, hang
Yours,
on.
oh, you
Am I
haven't had to
right?
use
No,
that
loved
counter.
ones.
It is loved ones.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
need to.
yeah.
It is the loved ones. I nearly said lovely bones. Fucking hell.
You haven't had to use the lovely bones counter yet. You almost had
I
one.
know.
But
Almost.
I think it's. I think for me, this is one of those horror films where, as we've talked about being wanting to be a filmmaker in horror, this is one of those films. If you want to see how to write and structure character and your narrative and escalation and tension and realism, this is one of those films that you should watch as a blueprint. So that's out that obviously after because I've said so much about it already. This is one of those that this shows you. This is writing 101. How to structure a character, how to create tension, how to build dynamics, and how to really get to the core of what a horror film should make you feel. Like this is one of those. Like if you're a filmmaker, a budding young filmmaker for horror, this is one to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. What's great about this movie is that now I've seen it, but when I did see it, straight afterwards, talking about the movie outside of the movie itself, which I'll go into, but this movie has already been something that when I've watched it, it's very inspiring to anybody that, like you're saying, that wants to make movies or anything, because it is a movie from 2009 that, like I say, I hadn't seen, annoyingly, but in 2026 I'm watching it now and I'm like, fuck, it's another movie that's showing me how horror can be so effectively created. Like, as you're saying, like this to me, the only thing that makes this movie not a perfect movie for me, as I said, is the cutaway for things that don't necessarily propel the story in the right direction. It feels a little bit more like we're going to take you away from the horrible shit for like 2 minutes of what's happening. If it's to do with, like, as I said, the girlfriend trying to find him, the mum trying to find him, absolutely fine. But the other things, but if it didn't have those, then this would be even more of a highly regarded movie for me, even though, like I said, I always say this, anyone can say anything negative about things, you can say things, positive things about it, but if somebody said to me, what are you going to rate this out of 5? It's a 5-star movie. Irrelevant of that, the odd little thing that I'm like, I would rather it not be in there, that's not taken away from how expertly, like, for example, is my annoyance up there, or is it down here? It's down here, and everything else that you get to see and witness in this movie and feel emotionally, and how exhausted you are after watching this movie for this character that's gone through everything and so on, then it's all up here. This to me is a 5-star movie, and I'm really happy that I've actually seen it now, because outside of the movie itself, it's something that's very much so inspired me to go, okay, like, once again, this is how you create horror. But as a movie itself, as I said, it's pretty much near perfect. The performances are unbelievably good.
Yeah.
This isn't just good performances. This is magnificent performances.
Absolutely
These are performances that you watch, and then you watch this movie and then you go, oh, that's what acting is. It's incredible. Yeah. But then you watch this movie and then you go, also, this is what filmmaking is. This is what directing is. This is what, like, when somebody is working at such a high technical level, it adds to the movie. And the great thing about this movie, once again, referencing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre again, is because Texas Chainsaw Massacre has so much iconography, is one of the reasons why we still continue to watch it to this day. Yeah. And I'm a little bit saddened because The Loved Ones feels like it has that as well. It has so much iconography in this movie, like all these horrible things that you're witnessing and watching happen to Brent becomes iconography, because they're done in such the highest horrible level. And that's why, and I meant, like you were saying earlier on, that, I mean, I'm one of them, but it's so sad that this isn't necessarily one of the movies where it's like always on people's lists to go, like, to recommend. Like, would I recommend this movie? Absolutely. I think it is definitely can be tough for some people to watch, which is why some people might not be able to, because
moments in it will be difficult for people. Well, I think it's again, I think that's just in general for Australian horror. Not enough people watch it. And it's something you were saying about talking about iconography, like, Years ago when I saw this, the reason why I saw it is because there is a shot in the film of a young boy. This is before I watched it. This is all I saw. A young boy tied to a chair with a man standing behind him and a girl in a prom dress wearing a paper crown pointing a drill at his forehead. And the way it was framed was so good looking. And it just made me go, what is that? That is a beautiful looking shot, but what is this film? What is going on? And the film is just drenched in shots like that. There's so many shots and you can just go, that's the loved ones. Yeah. And not a lot of films have that. You can't really look at a lot of many films and go, that's from the loved ones, or that's from this. Every frame in this, you can go, yeah, that's that film. And it's just, again, for me, I'm on my channel, I do a rating of 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you cannot get higher than that. As I said, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, however you rate it. For both of us, this is as high as you're going to get. And I hope that people that if you're watching this, listening to it, if you haven't seen it, obviously we are, I always assume that if you're watching this, you know that you know the loved ones, you've seen it and so on like that. But honestly, I could not recommend this movie more. And it makes me even more pissed off. Like, if you are somebody out there that also thinks that this movie is Lovely Bones, starring Mark Wahlberg.
I don't think anybody thinks that, man.
No, everybody thinks it. Everybody thinks it. Like, that's it. But if anybody else out there is as stupid as me and thinks that this movie is The Lovely Bones, it is not. It is The Loved Ones, and it deserves to be respected as The Loved Ones. And
even those, like you saying, then if people have seen it, but they haven't seen it for a while, go and watch it again.
Yeah.
Go and watch it again, and it'll remind you how good it is, and then you will start telling other people about it, because it's just, it needs to be watched more. I remember I bought this Blu-ray about a year ago. Luckily, it just kind of came up. I was managed to be able to get it, and I've watched it about 5 times since then. It's one of those, it's in rotation all the time for me. I absolutely love it, and I can keep watching it over and over, and it never gets boring.
Yeah, you're right, because what's great about this movie, especially if you are somebody that loves horror and watches a lot of horror, we also know that if you love horror and you watch a lot of horror, you watch a lot of fucking shit horror movies. So what's great is that when you get to watch a horror movie that's so good and that is genuinely a masterpiece of horror, you cannot wait to go and revisit. Like, I've watched this movie 3 times now in less than a month, because I did it. I watched it, then did it for prep, and then watched it again just to make sure. And I can't wait to actually watch it again. Like, by this year ends, God knows how many times I would have watched it. I mean, also, that does go to the state of horror now, where you're like, make better movies than ones from 2009.
Yeah.
But it just truly is a phenomenal movie. So I'm so thankful that I actually got to see it now and didn't think it was a shit Mark Wahlberg movie.
I'm really glad you did take the chance on it, because, like I said, this is one of those I can't sing its praises enough, and I'm glad I managed to convince you it's not Mark Wahlberg.
Well, that's it. And as well as that as well, this was a movie because I left it a little bit because I wanted to see this movie, because when I found out it wasn't the shitty Mark Wahlberg movie, Lovely Bones, I was just like, I need to look into it. And I actually brought the movie on Blu-ray. And that's why I was just like, I'm holding off to tell you whether I want to do the Loved Ones, because I didn't know what it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be in the Mark Wahlberg movie. As soon as I saw somebody on the cover with, like, 2 people that weren't Mark Wahlberg, I was like, no, that's a different movie. That's the one. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that's what I got.
That promo pic alone. Come on, that's so, look at that shot. That's so iconic.
Absolutely. And
how can you see that and not go, what the fuck is that?
I know, that's it. And there's no Mark Wahlberg in sight, and that's a good thing. Not one Mark Wahlberg in this at all. Not one Mark Wahlberg, let alone, thank God there's not 2. But yeah, obviously, look, everybody go and watch this movie. But now is your time to promote everything with Bearded Horror Reviews. Anything you've got going on, now's your time.
Well, so I'm Bearded Horror Reviews on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Where Instagram I do things like movie reviews and trailer reactions, and sometimes I do video essays as well. And I also do more short form versions of reviews or like trailer reactions and stuff for more indie films and stuff as well on Instagram and TikTok. So like the long ones are on YouTube, short stuff's on Instagram there. So go follow me if you want to, and that's where you can find me. I have been taking a little break for the last few months just because of life and starting a new business and such. But I will be returning soon because this year, these last couple of months, has been an absolute cavalcade of horror films coming out, and I've got a lot to catch up on, so there's going to be a lot of reviews coming up soon. But yeah, so find me over there.
Good stuff. I mean, obviously, this is the second time you've been on the show, and of course, hopefully you'll love to come back for some more great conversations.
Yeah, I love doing these with you.
Absolutely, and that's what's great is that I love it when I have someone like yourself on the show where, and if you've watched this, listen to this, you can tell that you are also somebody that loves deep diving and breaking down everything when it comes to the movie. It's not just the movie in regards to like we've watched it and it's good or bad. It's like what makes it good or bad, and that's what I love having these conversations. When we did The Substance, when we've spoken about this, they are proper breakdowns of what the movie is, and so you will get that with everything that Dan does on Bearded Horror Reviews as well. So it's not just doing it when he comes on here, he's doing it on his stuff as well. So make sure you go and follow him on Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere that he's doing stuff, because you're going to get great conversation, great takes on movies, whether it's a shit movie, whether it's a good movie. Of course, he's going to tell you, just as I do. But luckily on this show... No, exactly. That's the great... We are like... I was going to say we're like the Australian movies, but we're not Australian, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
exactly. So,
I've had a few people been rubbed the wrong way because I just say how I think, but I can back up why I think that way. And
yeah, exactly.
Some people don't like that. Oh no, but
no,
I
mean, the amount of times the amount of times I've been called the devil and the Satan worshipper, you know what I mean? I have to delete those messages now, but that's it. But in regards to Let's Talk Horror, of course, I have to close out every show thanking the people, my honorary creepazoids over on Patreon. We got Jamie, we got Rob, we got Leighton, we got Kate, we got Michael. These are the people that are a part of my creepazoid community over on Patreon. Obviously, it means the world to me that they are doing this. Patreon is obviously, I always say this is a great way for you to show your love for something that people are creating. If it's a podcast, YouTube channel, if there are people out there that you watch and you love what they're doing, more than likely they're have a Patreon, because like myself and like what Dan does and everything, we don't get paid for this. We're just independent creators. We want to keep doing this sort of stuff. So if you are somebody out there that enjoys what people do as well, that's what Patreon's there for. And also, like I said about this, how Let's Talk Horror is very much like, these podcasts are very much talking about how much we love movies. We all know that Patreon is me talking about, they recommend me movies for the Creep's Choice episodes, which is where they tell me to watch a movie and I watch it, and they're always shit. So that's their fault for sending me shit movies, although we've had one by now. So there we go. We finally got a decent one. But yeah, so if you want to hear me talking shit on movies, then go to Patreon. Patreon.com, look for Let's Talk Horror channel, and we're on there. And then, of course, all the socials, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because, you can see my viewership out there for everyone, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube. I don't have a lot of subscribers, viewership, and all that sort of stuff. But would I love more? Of course I bloody would. But it is what it is. But if you enjoy what I do, if you enjoy what Dan does, if you enjoy what anybody does, go and support their journeys. Patreon's there for that. But there we go. As I said, we're on everything. But once again, Dan, thank you for coming back on the show. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely loved it. Great chat. Always welcome. I always love coming back, mate.
Good stuff. Well, you will obviously, of course, absolutely be back on the show at some point down the line. We're going to have to... we keep setting ourselves up, though. We've done The Substance, brilliant movie. We've done Lovely... Oh, fucking hell, I said Lovely Bones. I did it. Counter. There's one on the counter. You got one. Fucking Lovely Bones. I'm going to smack Mark Wahlberg in the fucking mouth, I tell you, if I ever meet him, motherfucker. Although I'd have to go and meet him at 4 a.m.
You know what? I'm going to have to try really hard to curate a good list for the next one. Because I feel like we've set a bar now. Like we've done the Substance, we've done the Loved Ones. It's now 10 out of 10s every time that we've got to talk about.
Yeah, we either need to once again talk about another like 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 movie, or we have to talk about the shittest movies that have ever been made to contrast it completely. We can't just do a decent movie or a good movie.
No,
it has to be the best
has to be
or
the
the
best.
worst.
Yeah.
Or
right. I'll get my list going. I'll get a really good list going, and we'll do a great
There we
episode.
go. Well, thank you so much, Dan, again.
No problem.
And for everybody else, until next time, stay creepy, fuckers.